Yes, guys. Today's porch talk is all about cancer culture, about the whole social credit system. What is that, right? Uh, yeah. Okay, so back in 2018, I read an article from the End Times headlines, um, and they basically report on things that is not mentioned in the book of Revelations, but is, okay? And I read an article about the China social credit system. I was like, what? And this was back in 2018. Now, in 2015, the Chinese government deemed that by 2021, they were going to install a social credit system for their people. And depending on how their people behave, both financially and socially, will depend on the privileges that they receive. So think about that, how you behave socially. So with this whole that, they can track everybody, they have cameras everywhere, with social media, with your phone, you do know that everything is being recorded. Everything hears you, right? You can put your tinfoil hat on if you don't believe me, whatever. But they are tracking you. And the Chinese government had said that, hey, you're going to be given a social credit score. And dependent on that is the privileges that you get. Now, we're not talking about, oh, I get to buy my concert tickets early because that's a privilege. No, we're talking about, can you buy train tickets? Can you buy airfare? Can you travel? What about medical? What kind of medical treatment are you receiving? That is all wrapped up in the social credit score. So fast forward to 2020. Now, they haven't honed it in, but it is going on because people have been rejected. They have not been able to travel throughout China. And China just announced, it came across my phone this morning, that they are now going to be in charge of Hong Kong's elections. All right, kind of sounds like what's going on here, right, guys? Okay, so now we're gonna jump on a plane. We're gonna fly across the mighty Pacific here to the United States. Well, whether you agree with it or not, Donald Trump was canceled. They canceled him. They kicked him off of platforms because they did not agree with the things that he said. Now, you might have said, well, he incited violence. Didn't some of our Democratic lawmakers do the same exact thing? Have they canceled them? No. Mm-mm. So there are several YouTubers that I watch, and one of them in particular had mentioned that that he didn't agree with the vaccine, and so he spoke out against the vaccine. And guess what they did? They gave him a strike, so he can't post any content for the next week, right? Then if he gets another strike in 90 days, he won't be able to post for, I think it's 2 weeks, and his third strike within 90 days would be, he would not be able to be on YouTube. So, and that's only because he spoke out against, they striked him for community guidelines, and they said that because of him speaking against the vaccine, it goes against what science says. Okay, but the scientific community is still not in total agreement with the vaccine or with the virus, period. There's still those who are in the scientific community who goes against what Fauci says. So basically what they're saying is that if you don't go with what I believe, you don't go with our narrative, we're going to shut you down. We're going to cancel you. They're and it's free speech. It really and truly is. When you get down to it, it is free speech. But the thing that they're doing is they're bringing feelings into free speech now. So because what you say hurts my feelings, then you can't say that. All right, so your best friend says, how do I look in these jeans? And you're like, well, you really shouldn't wear them jeans, right? So you're going to tell her, what are you going to say? Oh, you look fantastic. They look absolutely fantastic. Are you going to tell her that? When in all actuality, she got fat rolls falling everywhere out of the jeans and they do not flatter her whatsoever? Or are you going to say, those don't flatter you, you might want to change your pants? Well, because she didn't like what she says, now she's not your friend. Really? I mean, I'm speaking truth here, but it hurts your feelings. So, and what he was saying about the vaccine is he's like, hey, look, guess what? I wouldn't get the vaccine. And there's a lot of other doctors and scientists that says they're not going to get the vaccine because they are not, the pharmaceutical company is not liable for what happens with the vaccine. So he equated that to, if you go to a car dealership and you buy a vehicle and they're like, there's no warranty with the vehicle. So once you drive it off the lot, if anything happens, we're not liable. Sorry. Are you going to buy that vehicle? Well, that's the same thing that's going on with the vaccine. They're not liable for it. In any vaccine that you get, the pharmaceutical company is not liable to what happens. So, moving on. Cancel culture. It's real, guys. You can't speak against what they want the narrative to be. I just cannot stress enough how important it is to speak your mind, speak your voice, let your voices be heard, because the louder that your voice is heard, the harder it's going to be for them to cancel people, for them to cancel a large group of people. It's like people who don't want to wear a mask into a store, but the store requires it. So you have like 90% of the people going into a place that at one time that is saying, hey, we are not wearing a mask. What are they gonna like turn away the herd? No, they're not. They're just gonna throw their hands up and be like, well, I guess there goes that one. So I just highly encourage you to speak your mind. This cancel culture, it is real. They're like canceling celebrities because of how they feel. I think it's LeBron James who has a personal opinion about the vaccination, and he's like, I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. And now he's being pressured. He's being told, you might want to rethink your personal feelings on the vaccine. Why? I can't have a personal feeling now? So much stuff, guys. So much stuff. And it's happening like really rapidly. I mean, you think about this. 1 year ago, we were just beginning to be locked down. We would have never thought that wearing a mask would be required. And now people are being canceled. I mean, we haven't taken it to the extent of they're never heard from again. But they are being canceled. They are being silenced. And once you're silenced publicly, who's to say that privately you're not going to be silenced? I mean, this goes back to Nazi Germany, like 1930 33. This is, I mean, this is going back way back then. Because if you spoke out against the Reich, I mean, you were silenced. And when I say silenced, it was silenced. You were put away. You were gone. You disappeared. You didn't show up for work the next day. And everybody was like, I don't know what happened to them. What happened? They didn't show up for work. That's all I know is they didn't show up for work. Right? They didn't have social media back then. So they hardly had a telephone. Right? So it's not like things could get out. Now it does. And now they're just taking your freedoms away one at a time. And while you think that it might be great, oh, it's great that they can't speak out against what I don't agree with. Well, what happens when it's your opinion that is being silenced, right? Because that's next. I mean, they're having you do their deeds for them, believe it or not. So anyways, I just wanted to touch base with this whole cancel culture. It is absolutely crazy, just crazy on the stuff that's, I mean, just spinning out of control. So that is why it's so important for you guys to get prepared. I cannot stress the importance of you guys being prepared. For instance, I will be planting these today. I got 2 of these, 2 packages of these, and I have 2 packages of these. So I got like 8 grape plants I'll be planting. I planted 2 apple trees. In case you don't know, I did a video on the trees that I just planted. Make sure when you buy your apple trees that you buy 2 apple trees. If you buy only 1, you're gonna get leaves. You might get some flowers, but you won't get any apples because apple trees are not self-pollinating. So they need a pollinator. So they need another tree to fertilize their flowers so they can have apples. So make sure you get 2 trees. Now, do your due diligence, and while you're sitting in there in the nursery looking at the apple trees and it tells you that it's a golden delicious apple, get online and Google golden delicious apple to see what apple tree you need in order to fertilize that tree, because not all apple trees fertilize each other. Just saying. I mean, they're particular, I guess. I don't know. So I planted the 2 apple trees. I planted a peach tree. Peach trees are self-pollinators, so you don't need another peach tree to pollinate it. What else did I plant? Oh, a blueberry I got the grapes. I put in my poles yesterday. So I got those put in. And so start your gardens, guys. Spring is just, what is it, 9 days away? Today's the 11th. Yeah, so spring is just 9 days away. So how exciting. It's so important for you to have your own food source. Because with this cancel culture, who's to say that, I mean, they might be like, well, in a few years, you can only visit the grocery store once a week and you can only go between this hours and this hours and you get left over. So we stock the store in the morning, but you can go an hour before we close twice a week. And so what is there? And we don't restock during the day. No, your social credit score depends on when you get to go to the grocery store. So you might be able to go first thing in the morning after it's all been stocked because you're a good little soldier. So you want to have your own food source. So gardening is a great way to do it. You can do in-ground gardening, you can do container gardening, you can garden indoors, you can garden from your balcony. If you live in a high-rise building, talk to the building superintendent. You might be able to get access to the roof and garden on the roof. I would highly recommend to have a couple hens, not just regular any old chicken, but you're going to need hens, and you do not need a rooster in order to get eggs. They lay eggs regardless. They're just not fertilized. I would highly encourage you to get a couple hens so you have egg production. They're not expensive. It doesn't take rocket science to have a small backyard flock whatsoever. Check with your city and your neighbor ordinances. Some places you can't have it. Maybe it's time to bug out. Maybe it's time to leave that area, right? But with the prices going up and with this whole cancel culture thing going on, I mean, and it's not just in China. There's other countries that are beginning to adopt the same thing with this whole social credit score. You're talking about Australia, Russia, I think it's like Brazil, Venezuela, one or two countries in the European Union. I mean, so this is just not one area. This is like globally. And then of course you have the World Economic Forum, which is like, we need to fix our economic issues. So much stuff is going on. So it's so very, very, very important for you guys to be prepared. So have food, water, make sure you have a way to collect water, to purify water. Make sure you know how to do that, whether it's you have a rain catchment system on your property or you store water and water bricks. Maybe you have a well that you can access, and if you do have a well, make sure you have a way to bring the water out of the ground if the electricity goes down, because 90% of wells require electricity to pull it up out of the ground, unless you have a artesian well, which is a free flowing well. You don't need electricity for that. May not have a whole lot of pressure, but you'll be able to get water out of that. Or if you have a hand pump, that would be a good thing to have. If it's not on your well now, make sure that you have a way to put it on your well and you have all the pieces for it when that time comes. Medicine, make sure you have at least a 1 month backup supply of your medications. Look at ways that you can substitute natural remedies for your pharmaceutical medications. So if there comes a time where you cannot get those pharmaceutical medications, that you can turn to those natural remedies as well. May not work as quick. I won't say as well. May not work as quick as what a pharmaceutical would, but for years upon years, up into the last 100 years, that is what people used. Food, water, and a way to protect it all, because you don't want somebody just coming in and taking everything that you have, because that would be no good. So anyways, guys, until next time, I got a stray hair that keeps tickling my eyeball. Until next time, I hope you guys are stay well, and don't get canceled. Anyways, oh my goodness, it's not as fun not doing a live video and having to pre-record it, but oh well. Well, you guys, stay oily and keep prepping, and make sure you hit the like button. It helps with the algorithms. Leave a comment below on how you feel, how the social credit system. I have a kitty that's about to come into the picture here. That how you feel that is going to affect the world going forward, and our country, and how you are preparing for it. Click the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so you know when I post a new video. And until next time, you guys have a good week.